Yo, what's up, Trojan family? Welcome back to the USC LAFB show. I'm your host, Ryan Dyrud. Recruiting update on one of the best defensive linemen in the country. Local prospect, attends Orange Lutheran in the Trinity League, Marcus Fakatow. He has just released his top 10 as of now. Now, his recruiting is just heating up. It is just getting going. There will be a lot of twists and turns before this storybook ends, but USC does make the top 10. And I'll be honest with you, prior to him visiting, just before Junior Day, when he made a surprise, or on Junior Day, when he kind of was a surprise visitor, I don't know if USC was in the top 10, to be frank. The local school, and, just close to home and with the history and all that, I don't even know if they were in the top 10 at that point. That visit was massively important to him to ultimately keep USC in the running. And again, not that they couldn't have climbed back in. Just because you don't make a top 10 list doesn't mean you're excommunicated forever during the process, but it certainly helps to be in that and then make the top 6 and then the top 3. Like, it's become a spectacle nowadays, but hey, that's why we love it. That's why we love college recruiting. But USC makes the top 10 along with Michigan, Ohio State, Georgia, Notre Dame, Texas, Oregon, Oklahoma, Penn State, and Texas A&M. So, loaded list of premier programs. You're looking at, I don't have this in order, so 1, 2, 3, 4 Big Ten schools with Notre Dame. And then you got 1, 2, 3, 4 SEC schools. I guess 5 Big Ten schools with USC. So 5 Big Ten schools, 4 SEC schools, and Notre Dame in that final, or that current top 10 for Fakatow. So this is going to be a really interesting recruitment and how it goes, because you had 2 very important coaches in this recruitment both leave their current programs. One, the obvious one, USC's defensive line coach, Eric Henderson. How involved was he at that point? Hard to say. Maybe not much. Maybe that's partially why USC was not kind of in the running up until a couple weeks ago. Maybe, he saw differently or was focusing on elsewhere, whatever the reasoning was. Maybe just wasn't as involved. Maybe he was. I don't know that 100%. But he obviously, regardless, he is now gone. And USC has promoted Skylar Jones to defensive tackle coach, with Coach Henney being the edge / kind of overseeing the defensive line. Still waiting for pure 100% clarity on kind of those roles. But that's the way I see it, is Nua being kind of the main DL coach with emphasis on edge. But again, they just last night promoted AJ Howard to outside linebackers coach. So how do you have an outside linebackers coach and an edge coach when you run a 4-2-5 scheme? Again, we'll clear that all up soon. But regardless, Nua and Jones working together on the defensive line. And I think that ramped things up. Plus, obviously, Fakatow meeting with Chad Bowden, meeting with Lincoln Riley, seeing kind of the vision they want, talking to Gary Patterson potentially, and seeing kind of how he views him in his scheme. Because he's a guy that can play all across the defensive line. All across the defensive line. I think he certainly has that kind of size and talent. When you look at, 6'7" frame, 295. A guy that you can put at the zero tech if you need, like they did with Jakeem Stewart at times last year. Not saying that's where they should play him most of the time, but can fill in there. Can certainly play 5 tech. You can swing him out as 5, or can certainly play 3 tech, but you can swing him out as the 5 tech or like the 9 tech, way on the outside. I think he has the speed to do that from the outside. So such a versatile player as the number 2 defensive lineman in the class. Remember, he reclassified from 28. So he was the number 1 player overall in 28, similar to Jakeem Stewart. You reclassify, you're going to drop a little bit. He's still number 2 after reclassifying. So that shows what a talent this could be. So, sorry, I go down these rabbit hole tangents, but that's kind of the big thing. Obviously, Eric Henderson leaving, but it didn't seem like maybe he was super involved anyway, so maybe that doesn't actually hurt USC's standing, as, like I said, 2 weeks ago, they probably wouldn't have been in the top 10 anyway. Now they are. The other one, and this is probably a bigger deal, if we're being honest, Notre Dame was seen as the clear-cut front runner for Fakatow, like far and away. It was theirs to lose. Now, I'm not saying they have lost it, but they've certainly lost that lead because their D-line coach, Al Washington, isn't with the program anymore. And he was the one that was really big in the recruitment of Fakatau. He was the one that was leading the charge, had built the relationship, and so he has left. Now their new coach, Charlie Partridge, he's going to be a solid coach. He's met with Fakatau, said that, it went well, but it did shock him once Washington left. So I think that even the playing field a lot more than it was 2-3, whenever the timeline was that Washington left. I don't remember exactly. But that did have a big effect on this, and ultimately allowed not just USC, but these other 8 schools to kind of really climb up the ladder as well. But I think Ohio State is probably a big one to watch with, they have a legend, Larry Johnson, as their defensive line coach. That's always a tough one to beat. Michigan's really interesting now with Kyle Whittingham there and what he always has done with defenses and what he's done with lesser talent, what he can do with a bunch of blue chip prospects at Michigan is always going to be interesting to watch. Obviously, all the SEC schools, when you think of Georgia and Texas, what they do on the defensive line, the pedigree there that they have always in putting players in the NFL will certainly go on. And then Oregon, say what you want. Oregon recruits well. They've done well on the defensive line and in the trenches overall, so they'll certainly be one to compete with in this. But I think USC is in the running, right? I think that's what I said. I think that's what I said a week ago. I talked about it and said they were, I'm trying to think of the phrasing I used, but they weren't in the ballpark. Like, they weren't in the race. Now they're in the race, at least. Like, now they're running within the confines of the track. They're not just spectating from the stands. So they're in the top 10. We'll see how that progresses. We'll see once he gets all these visits. I'm sure he's going to have a ton of official visits lined up in that May to June window, that end of May to end of June window for official visits and contact, and probably have a couple unofficials before then to get to spring ball and see practice and meet more with Skylar Jones, new defensive tackle coach. So will be an interesting one. It'll be interesting to see how recruits resonate with Jones in his new role. And, I've heard some really good things about him before just this happened. Like, we knew this. He's been on staff now for over a year. He's been with Henny for even before that when he was with the Rams. Like, I think when you think of teaching coaches, we've heard nothing but rave reviews about that. We've heard he can do good recruiting. He just hasn't really had to do it. So it'll be kind of a new role in terms of recruiting. And, hey, if he can start by landing Fakatau, I don't think any fans will care about the promotion. I think they'll be pretty psyched on it. If he goes and lands the number 2 defensive lineman who wasn't even sniffing USC 2-3 weeks ago, and he can go and land him, then I think everyone's like, okay, USC may have made the right decision in promoting within. So we'll see how that goes. Plenty more here, as always, at USC LAFB. So please hit that subscribe button. Become a member if you want. You get merchandise perks. We're going to do a ton of fun in-season stuff this year. I kind of teased a few episodes ago. I really want to start doing some tailgate videos, hanging out with you guys, creating content, filming the best USC Trojans tailgate. We can do it right here on the USC LAP channel. I think that'd be a blast, and I've always wanted to do. We're going to do other meetups throughout the season and live shows at one of our partners across the Southland. So a lot of that stuff we're going to start doing for members only. So if you become a member of the channel, you get all first access to all of that. Plus, it's just a huge help to me, my family, and all of us here at LAFB. So we appreciate that. So thank you so much. Be back plenty more. Stay tuned for a quick word from Sleeper. And as always, family, fight on. What's up, Trojan family? Got to tell you about a quick update from our friends over at Sleeper. Remember, they're the #1 sports app and absolutely fantastic for fantasy and daily fantasy, but they've just added a fantastic new features, and they've launched team picks. So now you can choose winners of each game out there, whether it's NBA, MLB. I know football's over. It's coming back soon. Don't worry. NHL, all those. And you just pick the team winner of each of those games. So here in Los Angeles, Lakers, whoever they're playing next. Do you pick the Lakers? Do you pick their opponent? Dodgers season just around the corner. Are you picking the Dodgers or are you picking their opponent? It's that easy. It's that simple, and it's that much fun. So aside from fantasy, aside from the daily fantasy pick 'em, now you can do the team picks that they just launched. So download the Sleeper app today, #1 sports app. Go and check it out and have a ton of fun, and make sure to keep it right here at USC LAFB.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.